October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Every 9 seconds in this country, a woman is assaulted or beaten. But what's even more disturbing is the number of women who stay in abusive relationships. HLN's Christi Paul knows all too well what a terrifying situation some of us can find ourselves in. In her new book, Love Isn't Supposed to Hurt, she talks about her own story. And Christi, thanks for opening up with us about something that's so personal. What happened?
Well, you know, I know that I lived back then what people are living right now. And it's frightening because you feel so worthless. You feel constantly berated. You know, the vulgar names you're called, being told that you're worthless, being told that you don't deserve this or that in your life. Eventually, you know, you do kind of start to believe it. And the thing is, I was able to learn how to let that go. It took me a long time, but once I did, I recognized people need to know this because I'm not special, and everybody else should be able to live without fear in their life. And I have 3 daughters, and I'm not fool enough to think that they're immune to this. I mean, look at what just happened to Alexandra Kogut. I would never want to be that parent that gets that phone call. I would never want my daughter to go through this. So I just had an inkling to write, and this is what came out.
It's helping so many people. It breaks, I mean, our hearts knowing what you've been through. Christi is such a sweetheart, just like she is. Looks on the air even sweeter in person.
I pay her to say that, by the way.
No, not at all. You know, but there's so many people identifying with you right now.
Yeah.
Why is it? Because I've had girlfriends that have gone through this too. And why do we stay in relationships like this?
Well, I can tell you after a lot of introspection, I know that a big part of the reason I stayed was because I was married. And everybody, you know, everybody has different reasons, but I think fear is at the core at every one of those reasons. I mean, some people stay because they have children and they fear breaking up their families.
Right.
Some people think that they can't support themselves financially, so what else are they going to do? And some people stay for fear of retribution. I mean, what people need to understand, because I hear people online when they talk about this situation, even with Chad, you know, Johnson, the recent situation with him. I've heard people say, well, if she stayed, she deserved it. Or, you know, what did she do to make him abuse her? And what people need to understand is that the most dangerous time, studies show, the most dangerous time for a person who's being abused is when they try to leave, because abusers like to have control. And think about it. If he's going to go, or she is going to go ballistic on you because you forgot to send a letter, imagine the fear of sitting down with them and telling them something you know they don't want to hear. You just never know how far they're going to take it. And that's a big reason why people stay.
Yeah, you make a great point. And you're right, too. It's not just women, it's men, too. I mean, I had a friend who's a guy, and his wife was beating him, he says. And, I mean, goodness sakes. And the thing was, it was like he had been brainwashed. He used to be this comfortable, you know, confident person, and you would never think that they could end up in a situation like this where they can't get out. They just don't think they're worthy enough. What is it that it does to us mentally when we stay in those situations?
Well, I've heard from a lot of men, too. Let me just point that out as well. So we do need to point out that it happens to both genders. The other thing we have to remember is that if you hear something consistently, if you're consistently being told that you're worthless, that you know, don't know how to do something, that you don't deserve this or that, that you're selfish, that if people knew who you really were, they'd hate you. Eventually you start to believe that. And then you compound that with the shame you already feel for staying. Like I said, I stayed because I was married, but with every incident, I felt worse and worse because I thought, I'm a smart woman. Why did I do this? And eventually I ended up leaving because I knew that I wanted children, and I knew I couldn't bring children into that. And I think that was really what pushed me out the door by the end of the day.